Welcome to Rethink Dialogue. In today's episode, we're sitting down with Danielle Atkins, who is the Brand Identity Director at Kodak. Welcome to Rethink Dialogue. So Danny, tell me a little bit about your background, work and, well, education-wise.
So I actually have a degree in History of Art and Medieval Archaeology from the University of College London. Lots of people said to me when I studied that, what on earth are you going to do? I actually felt that that sets you up really well for a career in marketing because you learn to research, you look at creative, you know, it's actually a pretty good, and then to present, so it's a pretty good background. Yeah. I've worked agency and client side, so I started in a digital boutique agency that became one of the big .com agencies during the mid-90s. I did Marks and Spencer's very first website. At one point my entire ambition was to get www.marksandspencer.com on their shopping bags, which sounds like obvious today, but at that point that was like super exclusive real estate. And then I've worked, you know, more recently for a number of brands. I worked for Nokia in the global brand team there, largely doing event-based product launch type activations. So I put Dead Mouse in a square and created a massive immersive light show around him for the launch of one device. And then I was the Europe, Middle East and Africa marketing director for Beats by Dre prior to joining Kodak as the global brand director.
Wow. Yeah, that's an impressive CV. So, well, tell me a little bit about your role at Kodak.
Yeah, so my responsibility is to drive innovation and creativity through the company to really reinvigorate the brand and bring it back to life effectively. Yeah,
because that's how is it to work for such a iconic brand, because Kodak is an icon.
It's amazing. I feel super lucky. I mean, lots of people do ask me, why would you leave Beats and Apple to go to Kodak? Kodak's obviously, you know, been through a tough time lately. But for me, I remember the magic of getting my prints in that yellow envelope, 36 or 24, and the anticipation of what you'd shot on film. So you know, I have very great memories of Kodak being very central to my life. My father made Super 8 movies, and in fact, you know, also shot on 16mm and 35mm. So for me, it's a passion brand. Yeah. I also think that it is, as you say, it's one of the world's most iconic brands. I look at it and I think that the logo is sort of similar in its status to the Apple logo or the Nike swoosh, and so I'm really excited to have the opportunity to bring it back.
Yeah. So what's your perspectives when it comes to innovation in correlation with design?
I think it's actually quite difficult to be innovative from a design perspective. I think if you look at what's trending now, it's very much kind of there's a renaissance of styles. So you know, I think that plays really well to our strengths. Obviously, in our heyday, we worked with you know, some of the best graphic designers, packaging designers, industrial designers, and so you know, we're pulling our innovation, if you like, from the past in some ways. So yeah, that's, I guess, one way of putting it. Sorry.
Okay. And then, as I understand, so Kodak is known for the Kodak moments and for the print, the picture and like film. But how do you see the connection now between digital space and still the print space?
Well, I think the interesting thing actually is that Kodak invented the digital camera. Very few people kind of are really aware of the fact that we invented it. I think we're a bridge between digital and physical, almost. I think that there's still, people still love printing things, and actually one of the bigger growth areas in photography and it is in low-mo print or in Polaroid or Instamatic printing. And I think that, you know, there's still a magic to having your image printed, and I think that's still important. But as I said, we are kind of science for creativity, and so we're about creating a frame for creative people to express themselves, whether that's in an analog or a digital space. You know, we have one of our brand license partners has created an amazing 360-degree 4K digital camera that, you know, is very much a digital product.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, kind of whilst we will continue to celebrate analog, we'll also be innovating in the digital space.
Yeah, but speaking of collaboration, because that's something that is like in every position that you've had, you kind of managed to find the strength or find really strong players to collaborate with to help promote the brand or build the brand. So tell me a little bit about your idea behind it and how do you do it?
I think collaborating with creative people is a great way for brands to build content and extend their audience and to do, you know, for me, I think social is it's quite personal in some ways, and it's a conversation, and so I will only share things that inspire me or interest me. And I think collaborating with different people from different walks of life is a really great way of achieving that. So, you know, I once worked for a Russian wireless telco brand, and I brought 36 interactive digital artists and put on a big exhibition in St. Petersburg. You know, and for me that was kind of almost like the pinnacle of being able to collaborate with you know, kind of really inspirational, really cutting edge you know, creators effectively to do something super interesting and super inspirational. And the, you know, the content from that and the news that event generated, in fact, we had more news than the Moscow Film Festival, which was in like its 25th year or something, for this brand new event. And so, you know, I just think it's a really powerful way for brands to get a message out there in an interesting way. But I think the key to doing it successfully is to make sure that the product that you're, you know, working with is right at the heart of that experience. So whether that's putting you know, well-known photographers to shoot, you know, in a collaboration project using a Nokia 1020 device, or whether that's working with publishers like Jefferson Hack on print executions. It's all about kind of finding the right partner for your product, really, and then coming up with a really interesting way to test that product to its limits and then create great content as a result. And usually there's an experience baked into that, so some kind of an event with an, you know, with additional content. It's not just one piece of content, it's a much bigger story that you're able to tell.
Exactly.
And then ultimately kind of, you know, maintaining that, so doing more than one, you know, is a great way, I think, to...
You're also doing a lot of collaborations now with Hollywood.
Yeah, so I mean, given that our product film, you know, kind of was a bastion of Hollywood for many, many years, it seems kind of in some ways a little bit surprising that we're so recessive. You know, when you see brands will invest millions of dollars for association with Hollywood blockbuster movies and the content. You know, like Nokia is a good example of doing partnership deals with Superman, for example, to sell, you know, for specific devices. And so I guess one of the things that I observed when I came in to Kodak was how recessive we were in that space and how we weren't really capitalizing as much as we possibly could. Certainly from a brand perspective, I think we've been working very hard to build partnerships with the major directors in Hollywood, like Christopher Nolan, who shot Interstellar on in fact special 75mm film that we made, you know, for that movie. So we you know, in that kind of movie industry, we're very good at working with advocates and partnering with them. Certainly at a CEO level, we're very active. But you know, when you get down to a consumer level, you know, people watching a movie in the cinema, you know, then our brand is like right at the very end, at the very end of the credits. And so we are looking to work in partnership with production companies to bring the Kodak brand from back of the film to the front of the film, and then going forward we'd love to develop that even more to more active co-marketing in the consumer space.
Right. I like that. Because it's always like, I remember watching movies, you never come to the end credit. You always like, you see just the actors and they're like, yeah, okay, finish the movie, or you enter, or you leave the theater. So you never get to see who's actually like, it's a monochrome, or who's behind the kind of the technical production of things. So that's cool. Your title says that you're the brand or brand identity, but as you say, you are a marketer. So what's your like perspectives or something you want to share when it comes to marketing in that role that you have as today?
I think, you know, the key thing, you know, being a great marketer is really about being a great storyteller, and finding engaging ways to put your product right at the heart of that story. And I think that whether your area of responsibility, and you know, in my case, it is very, you know, squarely being creative in this role as kind of the effectively creative director for the company. That doesn't mean that I lose sight of the importance of telling our brand story in interesting and innovative ways, and showcasing our product. And then I think, you know, kind of the element of my role that I'm really excited about at the moment is working on our brand license portfolio, which you know, in my mind, has the power to become, you know, a big consumer business for us if it's done right, and if we align the product portfolio with, you know, a brand vision. And I think that's the other key thing I'd say. Key takeaway is being very clear about, you know, your purpose and your vision, and making sure that, you know, everything that you do ladders up to help communicating that vision, because ultimately we're all bombarded by multiple messages all of the time, and there's a limit to how much people can take in. And I think, you know, our founder George Eastman, with his, you know, kind of registering, you press the button and we do the rest, it's a great philosophy both for marketing but also for product development, and I think the two things need to work together in tandem to have a really powerful outcome. Yeah,
great. So the final question is, I ask everyone this, it's what inspires you?
Oh, I get inspiration from so many different things. You know, I love to travel, and I love to meet different new people. I find, you know, I find my children really inspire me as well. I love to watch them discover things for the first time. I love to listen to their point of view on, you know, how to do things, and how, you know, I find that kind of super inspirational. And then I'm a real advocate of digital interactive art. I find that fascinating, and so, you know, I've worked with creators like United Visual Artists, Chris Levine, you know, these are all artists that work in light or work with technology, and I find there's something kind of super magical and super inspirational about that. So that's another, you know, particularly when that's then applied to an event space. Like the Coachella balloon drop during Arcade Fire that Chris Milk did, you know, turning the whole audience into an interactive digital art installation, for me was like, wow, super inspirational.
Cool. Okay, well, thank you so much for being part of Rethink Dialogue, and thank you for being part of Rethink.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I've had an amazing time. Stockholm is wonderful. It's been a great event.